What's up, everybody? John Hoover, AllSooners, along with Ryan Chapman, Randall Sweet. Post-game, 50-20. Oklahoma absolutely annihilates Iowa State tonight in a Big 12 conference game. Last time these guys are ever going to meet, we think, unless somehow Iowa State and OU make it to the Big 12 championship game. That's not going to happen. But we'll see. This is a game that demands a lot of attention tonight because for a good chunk of the game, Ryan, Iowa State, 4 drives, 258 total yards and 20 points on 4 consecutive possessions. After that, Cyclones finished with 0 points, 94 total yards. Sooners came to life defensively.
They did, and we thought that maybe they were going to get that spark initially. First drive of the game, Billy Bowman, thank you, 44 yards, houses it. AllSooners.com, watch Randall's highlights. He's got almost all of it till the Roughnecks got involved. But then, like you mentioned, 4 straight drives for the Cyclones, and a defense that had been so good at limiting the big play, guys, suddenly sprung a leak. Iowa State had about 150-ish yards in the first quarter. Don't have that off the top of the dome, but 90 of those came on just 2 plays. There was a play where Key Lawrence looked like he was going for a pick, misses the ball, it's a touchdown. There was some really bad gap assignment, gap integrity in the running game, but like you guys mentioned, 20 points, Iowa State reels that off, and then suddenly Oklahoma ratchets it back up. It's a performance that a year ago, 4 years ago, any era of defense post maybe 2011, that snowballs, and this is a shootout for 4 quarters. After the game, Brent Venables talked about how excited he was about how his team responded, and I think it was on display. He was asked last week, is this a dominant defense? You saw why Brent Venables isn't going to label that today, but the difference with this group, they've been able to not let things snowball. They were still excellent on 3rd downs, and Oklahoma shut Iowa State out, lights out, no comeback, nothing like you saw with USC Colorado. There was no intrigue for the second half because of the work that Oklahoma's defense did.
Peyton Bowen got another punt block. That kid is unbelievable. It's the first time since 2004 that one player has blocked 2 punts in the same season. Thanks for asking about that one during the game.
Anytime.
Yeah, so Oklahoma had big performances by its special teams as well. We'll talk about the offense here in a minute, but 2 field goals, 2 of 3, I should say, kicking field goals by Zach Schmidt. All around a good performance. When you hang 50 on Iowa State, and you correct what was going wrong and you limit them to 0 points for 3.5 quarters, basically, is what it amounted to. That's a nice turnaround. Randall, offensively, Dylan Gabriel put on a show tonight, and so did his wide receivers, guys, are unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Gabriel looked as confident as we've seen him in a Sooners uniform, which you mentioned this Iowa State defense. We were told that this is the most that Oklahoma's scored against a Matt Campbell coach team again in Iowa State. And so obviously Dylan Gabriel's confidence, he was able to get his legs going a little bit, but really through the air, Oklahoma fans have kind of voiced some frustrations about his deep ball, but tonight that deep ball found multiple different receivers. I mean, Nick Anderson, that was maybe Dylan Gabriel's best throw in the Crimson and Cream. That strike, the 39-yard strike to Nick Anderson. He hit Jalil Farouk on a deep shot. Brennan Thompson, the speedster, the transfer from Texas, got one. Jaden Gibson again scored a touchdown, muscled his way into the end zone on another deep shot. And I mean, even Drake Stoops got in the action. I think there was 3 or 4 plays where they threw him the ball a few times in a row. He caught a touchdown. I mean, again, the Oklahoma receivers were lights out tonight. Even Andrell Anthony on an off night, the Sooners still got great production out of the rest of their receiver core, which for a group that we thought might be a weak point on the team coming into the season, they've really shocked. And even, like I said, when the number 1 wide receiver didn't have his best game, the rest of the unit picked up the slack.
We talked to Brennan Thompson after the game, a couple of us did, and got some really good quotes about his time at Texas. He played at Texas last year. Steve Sarkisian is probably watching tape right now, looking at the OU game, looking at that 54-yard reception that he had, and probably just doing one of those, just head in hands, like, oh my gosh, we gotta defend Brennan Thompson now. The kid is, as Brent Venables said, fast, really fast, faster than fast. That's how fast he is. Ryan, this game tonight, and frankly, Texas's game at home against Kansas. They both had an opportunity to be a trap game for both Texas and Oklahoma looking ahead to next week. That didn't happen. There were some hiccups for both teams in both games, but here we are, undefeated, going into the Red River rivalry, both teams undefeated.
Yeah, first time since 2011 that we'll have an unbeaten, battle the unbeaten Titan clash in the Cotton Bowl. And for Alabama, or for Texas, excuse me, last year with the Alabama game, they had the opportunity to look ahead. Steve Sarkisian has been at Texas just a hair longer than Brent Venables. For Oklahoma, this was the Sooners' first true look-ahead spot. I don't think Nebraska really counted last year, and then once you lose to Kansas State, lose to TCU, that there are no look-aheads left on the schedule. And early on in this game, it looked like this Oklahoma defense was maybe looking ahead to Texas. Then they ratcheted that back up. Same kind of story in Austin, 13-7, really cagey at half. And then it's like Texas came out of that second half and said, Jason Bean is the quarterback tonight, not Jalen Daniels, and the Texas defense took over. And from there, these games kind of mirrored each other of what Oklahoma did to Iowa State, what Texas did in Austin. And now we're going to head to the Texas State Fair. First top 15 matchup since 2019. I don't think Oklahoma did enough to make it to the top 10 for it to be the first top 10 matchup since 2008. But as we descend upon Dallas, we're not going to be the only ones. It sounds like some personalities and some sets are headed to the Texas State Fair.
That's right. Big game means big weekend, means college game day, Randall. How excited are you to get to cover your first OU Texas game with college game day on the scene? And all that's going to go into this thing, especially after talking to coaches and players tonight, and they opened up and talked a lot about Texas.
Yeah, I'm very excited to get down there and cover that game. I think obviously it's an intriguing matchup. You mentioned the first unbeaten matchup in the Red River rivalry game since 2011. Obviously intriguing there. College game day on site, I apologize. That's obviously going to make it huge. And again, for an Oklahoma team who we looked at the schedule all offseason and circled the Texas game as the one true test on the schedule. We know that the Big 12 is down this season, or at least that's what we thought coming into the year. Again, and especially with the teams that were left off of Oklahoma's schedule, like a Kansas State, Texas Tech, things like that. So this Texas game is really the one on the schedule for OU that is a great measuring stick, really shows where this team is at, and especially against a Texas team that has looked really strong in a few weeks now consecutively. Beat Baylor pretty good last week, obviously handed it to Alabama in I think week 2, and so that'll be a big test for the Sooners. Of course, in a rivalry game, you never know what's going to happen, and so I think that the zaniness really adds to the entertainment factor.
Players are excited. We talked to players and coaches after the game. I asked Andy Stutzman, can we talk about Texas now? He goes, let's do it. He's excited about talking about Texas and regaining some of that. People talked about saving face from 49-0 last year when Oklahoma tried to play the Longhorns without Dillon Gabriel.
We talked to Dillon Gabriel. Go watch that video, AllSooners.com. We'll have that up there. He talked a great deal about Texas, and you could just sense he was ready. He's excited. And I'm just going to tell you now, boys, LB Bunkley-Shelton, Makari Vickers, don't think those are going to be the only two famous number 6s that are going to be wearing crimson at the Texas State Fair on Saturday.
Should be fun. 11 a.m. Saturday. We'll be there, of course, as always. We're going to be here in Norman on Monday and Tuesday, bringing you player press conferences, coaching press conferences, interviews, post-practice, all that good stuff. The pod's going to come out on Monday. Don't forget the Certified Fresh post-game pod from right up there in the press box here in just a few minutes. A lot more of what we just talked about, but hang with us at AllSooners. We'll have it covered. Wall to wall, as always. For Ryan Chapman, for Randall Sweet, I'm John Hoover. See you guys.